Hey friends, welcome back to Mustard Seed Homesteading. My name is Megan, and if you're new here, I'm so glad you stopped by because this is my weekly backyard garden tour and harvest where I love to share the progress of everything going on in the garden while doing some harvesting. Before we go ahead and take a look at everything, because we are finally going to harvest those Brussels sprouts, and friends, we actually have some broccoli to harvest, and I'm really excited to share this, but I have my first squash to harvest this season. But I do want to let you know of a couple of videos that I did just recently post, and they are two of my tomato varieties that I'm growing in the garden this year. And that first video is all of the plum tomato varieties that I'm growing in my raised beds, my green stalks, and some grow bags. The second video is all of my regular sized tomato or slicing tomatoes. I share all the varieties that I'm growing throughout my garden as well. I also made a video on all of my pepper varieties as well, and I will leave that in the description if you would like to check that out. Well, with it being evening time, we are going to start at that end of the garden because the squash is over there for us to harvest. And I also want to give you updates on all of the squashes, the pumpkins, the watermelons, cantaloupe, and we have a couple of cherry tomatoes that are starting to grow on the pea trellis back there. Then we're going to make our way this way and we're going to harvest the Brussels sprouts as well as the broccoli. Now, I want to quickly say something before we go ahead and harvest the squash. If you've been watching any of my videos, you'll know that squash has been really difficult for me to grow. Not that I've never grown squash before in the past. In fact, the funny thing about that is my first year, might have been my second, but I think it was my first year gardening, I grew beautiful squash. It wasn't a ton, but I had a spaghetti squash. I want to say at least one like zucchini and one yellow squash. But for some reason after that, I have had a hard time growing them. But as we're harvesting this squash, what this is teaching me is that in my backyard garden, I think what I need to do is start squash a lot earlier. I think summertime is not a good time for squash here, even though I'm going to continue to try to grow squash throughout the summer. But I think that having it in the springtime, going into early summer, is the best time for me to grow squash in my garden. And friends, look at her. Isn't she a beauty? So I probably could have harvested this squash a couple days ago, but I said, I am waiting to harvest this with my friends. So we are going to harvest this together. And this variety is the early prolific straight neck. Now, it could be that the variety is good for me or when I planted it, which was in April. So April 6th is when I started these. And oh my goodness, friends, can I just tell you the excitement of harvesting this squash? It's beautiful. I am so excited right now. Now, I don't see any more on here. In fact, I did see one, but it died on me. So I'm going to keep an eye on this, and I may start more squash seeds. I'm not sure. Now, this one over here is the Black Beauty squash, and I don't see any, except I do see, I don't know if you can see that little teeny one right there. So that might develop a squash for me. I'm not entirely sure, but we'll have to see. And then this massive one that's actually growing in the next bag, which I don't know if I'm going to let that grow that way. I may just leave it there. I'm not really sure. But this is the Blue Hubbard squash. I don't see anything yet, but so far it's looking really healthy. By the way, I just have to share, this green stalk right here is doing amazing, along with all of the other ones over here. And I am going to be upping my green stalk garden tours to once a week, just like my backyard garden tours, which is probably a really good idea just because there's so much going on here and the driveway that it would be impossible for me to get everything in just one video. So all these bags that I have lined up are cantaloupe right here, and then these going all the way down is watermelon, and then these last four are pumpkins. And so far everything is looking so good. And the reason I have these lined up going down my backyard this way is because my land slopes, this gets a lot of the water, and so the idea behind this was that the bags could catch that water, and it would also water the plants while keeping this from getting super muddy. And then I have some watermelon right by my stairs with this homemade trellis that my hubby made. These are 4 different types of watermelons, and then I do have shallots around the watermelon because shallots are actually companion plants for watermelons, and I had extra shallot starts, so I just put them in there. And then these are actually zinnias. I did not plant those. That is just volunteer seed that was already in the bag. And a little side note, this watermelon plant right here was actually the biggest one out of all the other ones that were here. And I came over here the other day and I saw that it was missing a lot of leaves. And then I realized that something chewed it, and something also chewed one of my shallots. So yeah, these squirrels and chipmunks are something else back here. Before we get to these beautiful Brussels sprouts, I want to show you the cherry tomatoes. I also have more cantaloupe over here, and I placed these over here because last year I had cantaloupe planted over here in some bags and they did phenomenal. So I went ahead and just put different varieties of cantaloupe back here, and then that's actually one of my mullein plants. This is actually a lemon balm that's growing on the side of one of these bags because that just grows everywhere. Once seed falls, lemon balm's all over the place. And then over here is a lavender plant that I replanted in a bag and just stuck in the corner. This is what I'm very excited to show you though, because last year on this pea trellis that I had my hubby reinforce in the ground, I had put cherry tomatoes, except they were in 5-gallon grow bags. So I had the idea to put them in larger bags because they dried out really quickly. And in my experience, they did not do very well. But this year so far, I'm seeing such a difference. There's some beautiful cherry tomatoes right there. I'm seeing a lot of blooms and a lot of little baby tomatoes. Look at these, aren't those so pretty? So I grew sweet currants one time in my raised beds. Wouldn't do it again because it was a hot mess, but I want to be able to keep growing them, and I figured it would be a little bit more controlled over here because I just made this entire thing cherry tomatoes so they can grow wild and be all over the place. And so I'm hoping that I can harvest a lot of the sweet pea currants this summer. And you know what other tomato was so good last year? I did get a couple of tomatoes on this trellis last year. It wasn't a total fail, but the white currants, I'm trying to get it to focus. It's not really focusing very well. These are the white currants. When I tell you these are just a bomb of flavor, I can't even begin to tell you. They are some of my favorite cherry tomatoes. They're super small, but friends, they are so delicious. And then there's the purple bumblebee. That is my favorite cherry tomato of all time, is the purple bumblebee. It does so good and they taste delicious. All right, friends, let's go ahead and get those Brussels sprouts. By the way, just a quick update on everything back here. So my hubby started removing some of the pallets. He did get, I want to say 4 of them on the other side. He still has to remove these. And then we're probably going to be building the beds towards the middle end summer for fall planting. But the next structure that we are going to start building, we just have to get the measurements and figure out with the sloping of the land, is the structure for this side, as well as the other side for the remainder of the green stalks that I bought during the clearance sale. And we actually did fill the rest of the green stalks, so I just have to plant these, build the structures, and put them back there. And I still have this one back here. I might as well just plant this. I'm probably going to plant most, if not all, the green stalks. And then when the structure is built here and the other side, I'll just place them on there. So I just have to say, this is incredibly exciting for me to have grown any type of Brussels sprout, because friends, I've grown them once before, but they were incredibly small. They tasted good, but they were teeny tiny. This is the best that I have ever done. So now we're going to harvest them because I don't think they're going to grow any larger than they are. Plus, I really do want to get the rest of my bushing plum tomatoes in these bags. I did take out the Brussels sprout plant that was here at the end because it wasn't doing anything. And what I planted, like I have the last 2 years, is my bushing plum tomatoes. So I have one here, here, and here. This one's not looking too healthy, so I might have to switch that out, which is fine because I have a bunch of them. And then I added Thai basil this year because I've never tried Thai basil, and that's just there for a companion plant. Plus we have some onions to harvest. So I'm gonna go ahead and start harvesting these. You know what, let me harvest the onions with all of you before I start getting the Brussels sprouts. I love small onions, by the way, so this is absolutely perfect. Ooh, teeny tiny. All right, friends, so I actually could not even cut the bottom. I had to pull it out with the root and just try to get as much soil off as possible. But when I tell you, these were such healthy roots in these grow bags. I think this is going to definitely be the spot where I grow my Brussels sprouts every year now. And I don't want to forget, because I think it's important to share the variety, but the variety of this one was Divine Brussels sprout. So it's a Divine F1. So this was the first time I grew this one. And I think there was another variety that I tried, but it didn't do well. All three of these were the Divine F1 Brussels sprout. And there's all the pile of leaves. So I ripped all the leaves off, and look at the Brussels sprouts. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. You have no idea, because I have been trying to grow Brussels sprouts for quite a long time with little success. So this is the best I have ever had in growing them. All right, we're gonna go get the broccoli now because we are losing some light outside, but I wanted to give you a little update on our cherry tomato that's growing right next to the stairs. So far, it's looking good. By the way, I do wanna give you an update on these green stalks. They are doing phenomenal. Look at how high that cucumber plant has already gotten. And I do actually have a snacking cucumber that needs to be harvested in there, but I'm going to wait until the green stalk garden harvest and tour video. But I am so far very impressed. And I want to make sure that I'm giving you little updates on the tomatoes. So everything is growing so good. I do need to come out here and kind of hook up the taller pieces of the tomato plant because they have been growing a lot, and I do need to do a little bit of pruning. But I am very happy to see that the basil is doing really good, because when I first plant my tomato plants in basil, sometimes they look like they don't look good, you know, so I have to give it some time, and with some watering and some rain, everything is looking really good. Here's a great example. I need to come out here and I need to make sure that these are attached to the bamboo stick. I'm also really excited about all of the Roma tomatoes. So this bed is the San Marzanos, and then I have 9 over here that is the San Marzano 2, and we're going to be comparing to see if there's even a difference at all. And so far, my idea with the tomatoes trellising on the very middle trellis instead of putting the Kentucky Wonders like I always do right here every year, I'm really liking this a lot. And actually, this bed and this bed that has my other plum varieties are doing really good. In fact, I see quite a bit of little tomato babies. Here's a couple right here. So I have a feeling we're going to be harvesting some tomatoes very soon. And look at this Tulsi Holy Basil. It has exploded, and I've been seeing so many bees, which makes me so happy. And here's the other bed, and you can see the other little tomato baby right there. Look at how sweet that is. Oh, I cannot wait to start harvesting tomatoes with you, friends. It's like one of my favorite things to do throughout the summer is getting tomatoes and basil. I already ordered some more feta cheese from Azure because I want to make sure I have everything I need to make my salads. What I want to do though, before it gets too dark, I want to focus on this bed as well as this one because there's some more broccoli to harvest and I'm really excited about it. I did want to quickly show you this one. So this one definitely got some cabbage worms because my other plants over, my Brussels sprouts actually, and some of the kale next to it got hit with some cabbage worms, which is another reason why I also wanted to harvest the Brussels sprouts. But this one might be a goner. However, I'm just going to harvest what I can today, and then I'm going to let these do their thing. I'm not even going to fight the cabbage worms, and if we don't end up getting it, not a big deal. I'll just take these out and start planting my green beans. I do want to show you the cucumbers though. Those are doing really good on the sides of the bed, so I like to plant cucumbers on both sides where they start to grow over this trellis. They do phenomenal every year, and so far everything's looking good. I did have to put a couple of seed in some spots because either they were eaten or they just didn't germinate, but so far everything's looking really good. After I grab this broccoli though, I'm going to show you the peppers because friends, I cannot even begin to tell you, there are so many peppers that I have a very good feeling by next week we're going to be harvesting some. Look at that broccoli, friends. This is what I'm excited about because I know it's technically still spring, but it is hot here and I am just really surprised that these are growing so well. I will say though, this one definitely needs to be harvested because it looks like if I leave that any longer with the heat, it's just going to flower. So we're going to harvest all of these as well. Well, you know what? I think I'll give that one more week, but I'm going to harvest the ones in the back real quick. I also wanted to try one of the onions in here. So let me grab this one. Look at that gorgeous onion. I will say, I plan to make an entire video on just harvesting onions out of the green stalks, as well as all the bags and any of the raised beds. All right, before I lose all lighting, because I wanted to make sure I harvested that broccoli before we closed out, I'm definitely going to show a lot more of the peppers on the next garden tour, because friends, there is just so much growing back here, but I'm really happy to see that there are a lot of peppers that are growing already. And it's not just one plant, it's a bunch of different varieties, and they're all growing at the same time, which is really fun. And here's some more. Let me show you the other bed, because there's this gorgeous purple one. Friends, look at this beauty right here. I believe this is the, oh, this is a purple beauty. Yes, look at how gorgeous. I was contemplating whether or not to harvest it now, but I'm gonna give it one more week. This is gorgeous. This is a new variety for me, and so far I'm liking it a lot. And then look at, we have one here, we have some here, we have another one over here. Don't mind all the dirt on my fingers. And then we have this one. We have this one. We have some Jimmy Nardellos right there. I have some more bells right here. And this one right here. And I believe there's another one over here. I can't find it, but yeah, they're growing everywhere, friends. So I have a very good feeling that we're going to be harvesting a lot of peppers this year. And most of these varieties are bell peppers, sweet peppers. The only hot peppers I have are the jalapenos at the very end, except over there, I do have the red cayenne pepper. I didn't even see this over here. Look at this little cutie pie. By the way, I'd mentioned this during my pepper video. I have the Cali Wonder 300 here, and then I do have the Cali Wonder over here so that I can compare over the summer to see how they do. I typically do better with the Cali Wonder 300 than just the Cali Wonder. I'm not really sure like the major difference. Obviously, I know it's a different variety because it's a 300. However, I like the Cali 300 because they just produce beautiful peppers and they're very abundant throughout the summer. I do have a jalapeno though, but I'm gonna wait till next week. Maybe the next tour, and I'm hoping we could just do a little pepper harvest. Friends, look at this violet sparkle, by the way. New variety for me, and I am really liking this. When I shared the picture of this on my pepper video, it's like this beautiful, stunning purple. I'm hoping that it will turn that purple because I think you can harvest them when they're this color too, but I'm going to wait until they hopefully turn that beautiful purple that I've seen. Oh friends, I didn't see this, look at, so that's kind of the purple that was on the picture. It was a little bit brighter. It might just be the evening time, but look at how gorgeous that looks so far. Very happy. I do want to give you a quick update on the sweet potatoes. So far these bags are doing good, and the ones on the driveway in the green stalks already look gorgeous. I have been vining the sweet potato vines around the trellises on the green stalk, and it looks like a beautiful art piece. I also want to keep you updated on the potatoes. I know we haven't been looking at these a whole lot just because there's just been too much going on in the garden that I want to show you more than the potatoes, but I will say I want to harvest these probably within the next week or two, because as you can see, everything is dying back. Those definitely have died back, and the ones in the green stalk kind of look like these, where there's a lot that has died back, but there's still some greenery. I'm not in a huge rush to harvest them. I will tell you though, friends, those little stinkers, the squirrels and the chipmunks, have been digging in there and taking potatoes, because I have found, I want to say at least 2, maybe 3 potatoes, one on my driveway and I think 2 back here. I can't remember now, but they were scratched and bitten at. So they're going in there and they're digging out the potatoes and they're trying to eat them. So I do need to get to harvesting them. I just want to make sure that they are 100% ready. However, I don't know how many potatoes I'm going to have left in there because they keep digging in there and taking them out. All right, friends, well, that is the garden this evening. I love to share the garden in the evening time, but I'm limited, as you can see, because, oh, there's the string lights. I'm hoping we can add more in the back here, but I am limited because it was incredibly hot today. Oh my goodness, I am just super hot being out here in the evening time, so I can't even imagine being out here during the daytime. But we are going to have so much to talk about and harvest in the next couple of weeks. All right, as I was just saying, it has been super hot back here. I thought by coming out here in the evening time it wouldn't be so bad, but I had like pearls of sweat on my nose that I had to wipe off while I was filming out here because it is so hot. I actually really don't mind the heat because I feel like I'm detoxing and getting a good workout out here, but it doesn't make it very comfortable when I'm filming and I've got all this sweat dripping down my face. Anyways, in the next couple of weeks, we are going to be seeing a lot of growth in this garden because I'm already seeing it now. And with the new trellis over here with the green stalks on it and all the tomatoes that have been planted, my cucumbers and these peppers, there is just going to be so much that I need to share with you every week. So let's go ahead now and see what we harvested this week. All right, so we got ourselves some more broccoli. Friends, I am harvesting broccoli in the heat. This is crazy. So we're gonna do this individually because my camera doesn't want to focus on everything. So I'm just gonna grab the broccoli first. But friends, this is really exciting. I love growing broccoli because the broccoli plant, as I've shared so many times, I love to eat the stalk, the leaves if they're good, and then of course the florets of the broccoli. And I would say this is pretty good. I'm hoping we can harvest the little bit that's left in there. I really don't think that cauliflower is going to grow all the way to getting a head of cauliflower, which is fine. I'll just try that variety again, maybe in the fall or over the winter going into spring. But very happy about this. Hopefully we'll have one more harvest of broccoli so then I can plant all of my green beans as the cucumbers are growing. And then of course I kept all of the good broccoli leaves. It wants to get the woods back there. It's so hard to film with the woods behind me. I love having it behind me. It's beautiful, but the camera sometimes wants to get the woods instead of what I'm holding or my face. Anyway, so we got ourselves a lot of broccoli leaves. And friends, look at all of these onions. So this is just the beginning when it comes to onions. We are going to have so much to harvest. I have a feeling that this year I'm going to have a bigger harvest of onions than I did last year, but that's because I planted some during the winter time and there's a ton to harvest back here. And then of course we have the green stalks. So very, very happy about this. Now these last two, I'm telling you, gets me incredibly excited. And one, it's the squash, because I've shared this before. It's been difficult for me to grow squash. So to have this one makes me so happy, and I'm hoping that we can get some more squash throughout the summer. Otherwise, like I said, I think what I'm going to do is just plant my squash at the beginning of springtime, maybe even the end of winter going into spring, just depending on the temperatures. But either way, this right here is a huge win for me. All right, friends, I'm gonna tell you right now, this right here, including that squash, has been failures that I have embraced and said, I'm determined to keep trying until I get it. And friends, this right here is a huge win. I have, like I shared earlier, I have been trying to grow Brussels sprouts for a couple of years. And sometimes I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna forget it. I'm just not gonna keep trying. But you know what? I'm so glad that I have such a stubborn attitude and such a determination to try and keep trying until I get something, because this right here is a huge win. I am so happy. And look, they're not even gigantic, and you can see there's only a couple. It's not like the whole stalk is full of Brussels sprouts. I've seen stalks of Brussels sprouts that have bigger and more Brussels, but this right here this makes me so happy. I don't care that they're not all full or the whole stalk has a bunch of Brussels sprouts. This is enough to make a beautiful meal. If I add it with the broccoli, some onions, a little bit of garlic, some salt and pepper, it's gonna be good. So friends, I am so excited, and I want to encourage you, friends, if you have failed at something in your garden, don't give up. Just keep trying, because at some point you're gonna figure out what works best for you in your garden. Hey friends, I'm adding this in here because I want to try to include more footage of how I'm using my harvest. And you can see in this pot, I have the beautiful broccoli in there, and I even chopped up some of the stalk. There was also the radish that I harvested from the garden, as well as some chopped up frozen onion from last year's harvest and some garlic from this year's harvest. And then friends, look at the beautiful Brussels sprouts. I mean, absolutely stunning. And then there is our beautiful yellow squash that we harvested together. And all I did was just chop everything up into about bite-sized pieces, mixed everything together, added some of my favorite seasonings, which is pretty much just onion powder and garlic powder. And then I did have some leftover russet potatoes from a previous meal, and I just chopped them up into bite-sized pieces and put everything together. Now, something you could add to this would be some cheese. That would actually taste really good, or some Parmesan cheese. But I made this into into our side dish. And then our final meal was that on the side with some pork and some homemade juice. And friends, I just have to say, this is why I garden. I love being able to make this for my family. Well, friends, I am so glad that you all stopped by, because whenever I deal with any failures or wins in my garden, I want to share all of them with you, because I know what it is to be frustrated in my garden, and I can only speak for myself, but I have had a lot of frustrations. And in the beginning of my garden career, I almost gave up because I felt like there's way too much troubleshooting and I could never pinpoint exactly what went wrong. And that's the thing about gardening, is sometimes you just don't know, and every season is very different. What happened one year may not be the same the following year, and I've come to terms with that, because for me, growing food and learning how to grow food and never giving up is a big deal to me, because I want to be able to grow food for my family and then turn around and share this journey with all of you as an encouragement and inspiration. And friends, I do want you to know that I greatly appreciate every single one of you, and always look forward to sharing all of this with you every single week. And I also want you to remember this, friends. I want you to be encouraged, stay encouraged, and I want you to always stay inspired. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye.